Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
So sorry about that, folks. Let me just get you up there. So sorry, folks. We're running it. I just seem to be having a myriad of Google Hangout issues that I'm working through. But anyway, here we are. We're just a few minutes late. We apologize for that. Today I'm on the phone with Erik Robinson from Academy Mortgage, and I called Erik up. I saw the video. Um, it comes from that's. I think I can hear your echo. So anyway,
I'll fix
oh,
that,
I
Ron.
know. No, I know what that was. That was my video. I'm sorry. I got the video open somewhere. I can't find the screen. There it goes. So I was actually playing the video. The video is actually a delay. So, but anyway, there was a video that went around. It's from the guys from the National Real Estate Post that the appraisal ticking time bomb was the headline, and everybody's running around. So I called Erik and asked Erik. I said, Erik, what's your take on this? And he had some things to share that I thought were pretty enlightening and made sense to me. I mean, it wasn't. He's not fear mongering, which is kind of what it seemed like the other guys were doing. So anyway, here we are. So I just want to introduce Erik Robinson. Erik, tell us a little bit about yourself. You know, how long you've been in business, and you know, you like long walks on the beach and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I'm a mortgage lender. I've been in the business for 13 years now. Um, Done everything from had a really small broker shop to a call center. I'm now at Academy Mortgage, doing mostly purchase business. Been here about 4.5 years, and really like it.
Good. So, um, you know, so let's just jump right into it. Collateral. It's
Okay.
called CU, Collateral Underwriting, and you know, and so. You know, I mean, you watch one video and the sky's falling. I call Erik, and Erik's like, "Well, I think it's a good thing." So so give us like I guess a brief overview of what it is, and then we'll kind of go into the kind of questions. I'll kind of guide the questions, if you will.
Yeah, absolutely. So, collateral underwriter, they're calling it CU. Fannie Mae has for years had what's called DU, which is desktop underwriting. That's the automated underwriting engine that we send every loan through for approval. So we take a client's loan application, submit all their information through this desktop underwriting. It spits out feedback that tells us what we need to get from that borrower to have a saleable loan for Fannie Mae. So they've designed a program that's going to do the same thing for appraisals. When we
Okay.
receive an appraisal from an appraiser, we upload it to this system, and it runs through an automated underwriting engine, and that engine spits out feedback and gives the lender and the underwriter directions on where to go, what the issues are with that appraisal, what the concerns are, and it actually spits out a score. There's a score between 1 and 5, 1 being low risk, 5 being high risk, that just is going to allow the underwriter to get better direction on what issues need to be addressed in appraisals.
So, well, how's it? So, and we talked about this a little bit. The underwriter. How does the under what? How is it done now with the underwriter?
So they have guidelines that they have to go by, certain, for example, line item adjustments. So when an appraiser is looking at comparables, he will find a house that's similar. If it's a few more, say it's 200 extra square feet, he has an adjustment for that extra square footage. Or it's 10 years older, he has an adjustment for that age, a value adjustment there. Right now, there's numbers that Fannie Mae has set, kind of guidelines that those adjustments can't be above certain percentages. They're kind of arbitrary numbers, just based on, not based on the specific appraisal. So with this collateral underwriting, it has this engine that Fannie Mae has is going to have all the we've actually been uploading appraisals to this system for the last couple of years. I think I read something that there's 14 million appraisals in their database. What it does is it pulls those comps from other appraisals and knows whether they're, or sends feedback back out whether those adjustments are in line, rather than having a cut and dry number that says, 15% adjustment is too high for this property.
Right, because it may look at it and say we have other properties, so why are you using those, right?
Right.
And so it's basically so it's not gonna kill the appraisal. It's just going to give it a score. Is that correct?
Yeah, it's going to give it a score. Fannie Mae hasn't said that there's certain scores that they won't purchase. So even if it's a really, really high risk appraisal, it's also going to give feedback messages that tells us why it's high risk. And at that point, we go back to the appraiser, have him explain it. If it's a legitimate explanation, we're fine. We move forward and close. We're doing that now already. And I think this is actually going to help us do that less. I think we're going to go back to the underwriters less because Fannie Mae has all that information in their database, where we're just, so say it's a property that's in a rural area and the appraiser has to go to a bigger radius to find comparable homes. Fannie Mae is going to know, they have geocoding that knows that it's a rural area and that those are the best comps available, and isn't going to have to ask us to get an explanation from the appraiser as to why.
Right.
Because it's common sense, it's straightforward. Right now, our underwriter knows that that's common sense and straightforward, but we have those rules meant for every appraisal to fit into. So we have to say, okay, if comps are more than a mile, we need an explanation, even when it's common sense.
Right. So the system. So currently the way I understand it is your underwriter is doing this kind of scanning of the appraisal, correct?
Yes. Yeah. They actually spend about a third of the entire time underwriting a file is spent on underwriting the appraisal itself.
Wow.
That's another part of this that I'm really excited about. Is it's going to take that. It's going to cut that time down significantly. So
sounds.
Technically,
so they're spending a third inside an appraisal.
Yeah.
God, can you get any more boring? I'm like, holy crap.
Yeah. Going through line by line, any little adjustment that's outside of these guidelines that Fannie Mae set, they have to question and go back to the appraiser and ask for an explanation on. So
this just seems like it's going to do that kind of more automated. Here's the questions we have. Shoot. You might even be able to just take that. I don't know what it looks like from your end, but like DU, if DU spits out a set of questions, because it's really all it is, right? It's either an approval or it's got, we have some questions here, and then you just copy and paste your questions in an email and you're good to go, right?
Exactly. Another thing, and this isn't happening yet, but their goal is to integrate this with DU, so it's a more holistic picture of the risk of the whole entire file.
Because the borrower obviously has a play in there.
Right. They're not going to be as worried about an appraisal if you have a really, really strong borrower.
Right, you got 820 FICO scores, 20% down. They're not,
Right.
Who cares?
Who cares if the appraisal is off a tad? So hopefully, the goal is, our goal as lenders and Fannie Mae's goal as a servicer and a purchaser of mortgage bonds is to assess risk.
Right.
And this helps us do that more efficiently and effectively.
So, and that's kind of how it's been portrayed. And, and I'm kind of like a basic human being that's lived in the United States, and that when the government says they're going to help streamline, my knee-jerk reaction to that is, oh, great.
Right.
Add another 90 days to the file, and it's going to cost the borrower more money. That's my knee-jerk reaction.
Right.
And that was kind of how it was the first news that I heard of this. was kind of how it was portrayed, and I'm kind of like, well, yeah, I don't disagree with that possibility, you know.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
you know, but from what I'm hearing from you, that's really not the case. You
I
know,
don't
I
think
mean,
so. I mean, I agree with you in most cases. It scares me whenever I hear the government's going to get more involved. But I don't think that's the case with this. All I've read about it is it's pretty positive, and they have such a giant database of appraisals. Why can't they compare, use the same comparables that every other appraiser used on that street
right.
and compare appraisals to the appraisal for the house next door rather than an underwriter looking at it one by one without that giant database of information.
Yeah, and an underwriter, I mean, and the thing is, you know, I just, you know, I mean, an underwriter is familiar with an appraisal because they see the paperwork every day, but I don't really see, you know, I mean, because, you know, it's kind of like the BPOs, you know, the guys, most guys doing BPOs, you know, they're not really good. That's why they're doing BPOs for $50, right? I mean, so,
Right.
you know, I mean, if you're worth your weight in salt and pricing, then you'd be pricing listings and making money. So
Right.
that, you know, that's, you know, not to say that there isn't a business in BPOs and the REO agents there, you know, they have to do them. But
Yeah.
so it kind of reminds me of that where, you know, an underwriter really is not an appraiser. You know, I don't know what their working knowledge of appraising is. I know most realtors, real estate agents, you know, realtors, they have a working knowledge of pricing, but not really of appraising. Is how
Right.
I find it. I mean, would you
Yeah.
say that's true? I mean, because you guys look at pricing strictly from an appraisal, you as a lender.
Uh-huh.
You know, the problem I always have with appraisals are they only look at the comps where I'm like, you know, hey, we just looked at 15 properties. This was the best deal. You know,
Yeah.
and that drives me crazy that you can't get the best deal to appraise.
Right.
So, and I'm just
Right.
a little concerned that the software is going to err on the side of conservative, you know, where that appraisals may be starting to run into issues. I don't know. I guess
Yeah.
we're waiting to see.
I mean, I think whenever a market's appreciating, we're going to have those issues
Right.
because appraisals lag the market. They lag real time. I think, again, because there's such a giant pool of information for this automated underwriting engine to compare to, I really think it's going to be better. They have better information
Get it?
because it's real time and it's every appraisal that gets done gets uploaded into this system.
Right. Everything that's Fannie. So basically, any conventional FHA,
Yep.
rural type, you know, VA type of loans.
Anybody that's obtained financing for a property,
It's
whether
running
it
through
be,
Fannie, Freddie, or somebody, you know.
yep, FHA, conventional, VA, USDA are all going into this database.
Right.
Every lender nationwide. So it's good information. It's real time information. I really think it's going to be helpful.
Wow, that's pretty cool. I mean, I don't know. I mean, it sounds like to me. I mean, I don't see the sky falling on it. Now, you know, I see maybe in the beginning, like QM, when QM first came out,
Right.
I mean, it was a mess, right? Nobody
Yeah.
knew. I mean, lenders were like, God, do I go this way? Do I go this way? I mean, I'm afraid to
Yeah.
go this way. I mean, it was just like, you know, everything they did, you know, they checked, double checked, and triple checked before they crossed the street. And, you know, and it was just, it's just slowed things down. Because I
Uh-huh.
remember meeting with a lender group one time. I said, "Hey, you want to know what the best marketing in the world is?" And they go, "What?" I'm like, "Close loans in 3 weeks." You know, you know, because that was back when loans were taking five,
Right.
6 weeks.
Right.
You know, and it was like we're like, "No, that's too long." I mean, come on, you know, fix the process. You know.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
and then once QM settled down, it seems like we're back to the old days where, you know, you're just banging them out in 3, 4 weeks. You know.
Right. Right.
So, and
QM.
I see this kind of the same.
Yeah, I agree. There's always bugs that are going to be worked out. What I like about this, and while I'm less scared of this going that way, is it's actually not a requirement for Fannie Mae yet. They're going to roll it out. We can send it through that automated underwriting engine. We're going to get our feedback, but the rules haven't changed. We can still keep underwriting appraisals like we have in the past.
Right.
Fannie Mae is still going to buy these loans regardless of that risk score on the appraisal. So they're not saying if this score is a 4, it's a dead loan. They're actually not even saying that we have to run it through CU to have a purchasable loan. So,
and that's currently. I mean,
that's currently, yeah, and that probably could change in the future. But as of right now, it's really just allows us to, I think, more quickly identify issues with appraisals and address the issues that matter and not worry about the issues that don't.
Right. Got it.
I think 9 times out of 10, the conditions that we're having to get on appraisals are not necessary.
No,
it's common sense stuff, and it's an underwriter trying to be conservative because they don't have any kind of direction from Fannie Mae on what to go off of.
Right, and appraising a lot of times, I mean, there's a lot of what's the word I'm looking for? Kind of street knowledge, if you will. That, and that's where, and I think that's where the agent differ from the. And I understand agents are trying to push their deal through sometimes because they got a car payment due in 3 days. I get that, but but for the most part, they have more current, real time, what's going on today. Like I said, that nothing drives me crazy more than I just looked at every house in this price range. This is the best deal.
Yeah.
And that just annoys me. But this
or
is
you
what
have
it
a
is.
listing. You have a listing with 5 offers on it, and you go highest and best, and then can't get an appraisal to support it. But you've got 5 people in line wanting to buy it. To me, that's the property's worth what you're selling for if you've got 5 people in line.
Right. Yep. Exactly. And that's But then it's back to. If you want to borrow the money, then we play by their rules. Bring your own money, do whatever you want, right? That's just kind of how it goes, right?
Yeah.
Well, that's so currently the underwriters spending, and they're underwriters who are not appraisers, and what's their job? An underwriter's kind of like they're kind of stuck in the middle. So this actually takes them out of the loop. So let's say it spits out a question, say we have these 3 comps that we have questions on. So then. It's just you ask the appraiser the question. If the notes didn't make sense, then you ask the questions. Yeah. And then that's it. If they say, well, I use these because this, that, and that, then you're like, oh, okay, and that's it, and you're done, right?
Yep. I think it takes some of the weight off of the underwriter's shoulders because they have that feedback and those error or those risk messages from Fannie Mae.
Right, so then they can actually spend time on, instead of spending all their time on all the appraisals, they can just now focus on the questions, and I think that'll actually move I see that moving the process along.
I do too. I really think it's going to, once the bugs are worked out and this is up and rolling, I think it's going to go faster.
Right, but in the meantime, if it's too buggy, you guys as a lenders can just say, hey, look, this is a good appraisal, this is a good borrower, we're closing.
Yeah. Which, it's what we're doing now. This is really just going to make us faster.
Got it. Gosh.
I know it sounds weird, but I think it's going to be a good thing.
Well, it's like DU. So DU has made your underwriting pretty much faster, right?
Exactly. So the rules are you need 2 years worth of tax returns, but if you have a good borrower with high credit, we run it through DU. Sometimes it will give us some relief that says you only need 1 year's tax return.
Right.
So I really see this the same way.
Right.
Being able to take instead of, because all the guidelines that aren't spelled out in the automated underwriting are the most conservative, the most time consuming. They err on the side of being conservative. So I think this feedback in most cases is going to give us some relief on the items we have to gather.
Wonder how the appraisers. Wonder what an appraiser's perspective of this whole thing is. Because I don't.
Yeah, I do too. I'm real curious. I haven't talked to any. It's still pretty new. A lot of people haven't heard anything about it. It's rolling out January 26th. Is the date that it goes live? So Monday.
Yesterday. Yeah, I asked the lender today, and he never heard of it. So I said, hey, what's your thoughts? And he didn't know, so.
So he didn't have any thoughts?
Yeah, so Yeah, he was kind of like, and yeah, so I did it at a CE class. I put him on the spot. I kind of felt bad for the guy, but
Yeah.
oh well. So obviously I threw his card away. So, um,
We've been
but
talking about it for about 3 or 4 months. Had some of the guys that are involved in our company in rolling it out, just getting feedback from loan officers and feedback from underwriters about their feelings, and it's all been pretty positive. My underwriters will admit they're not property experts, and um, they've said they don't feel like they should be underwriting appraisals.
no, I mean appraising is an art, not a science, and to me that's always been the issue,
Uh-huh.
where the appraisal system that we use is pretty much a science, and
Right.
appraising is not a science.
Yeah. Yeah.
I say it all the time. I mean, you take a raised rambler, the difference between, a raised rambler and a split entry to a computer algorithm
Uh-huh.
is the location of the stairwell. But if you
Right.
take a raised split, raised rambler and a split entry out in the open market, the buyers have totally different opinions of that.
Yeah.
So, so the buyer thinks totally different. The other one is, like 701 Kensington, if you know downtown Salt Lake, you got a property on the corner of Kensington and 7th East versus one down the street, identical homes, everything identical. Obviously, the one at 701 is not worth as much, but not
Right.
to the computer, it doesn't see that. The science doesn't understand that, so
Yeah. Yeah.
that's where you need, real local market expertise.
Right. Yeah.
Such as, people prefer ramblers over splits theoretically, you
Yeah.
know, it's that type of thing, but the algorithms don't know that. So anyway, so,
And
the
yeah,
more we can take people out of that, I think the better.
I agree. And we've got a pool of really, really good appraisers, and I think we should trust them. That's what we hire them to do. That's what we've screened them to do well. I think we should, trust them more on
Yeah,
their
the whole thing.
appraisals and
Yeah,
not.
this whole thing that we're in now with the whole appraisal, the AMC's and the HVCC's, I think, from the bad appraisers during the boom, and I don't, now we have the whole new system that I think is kind of overkill. I think as a
Yeah.
bank, go out and hire appraisers.
Right.
Hire appraisers to represent you as a bank.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
I think you would, and just do common sense. I don't know, who knows. But anyway,
Yeah.
so well, to summarize it, it's so the sky hasn't fallen, so you shouldn't change careers, is what I'm hearing you say, right?
Yep. Yep.
So,
This is going to be a good thing.
well, if someone had more questions about this, would they be able to contact you?
Absolutely.
Okay. What's a phone number to contact you at?
My direct phone, you can call me anytime at 801-233-3736.
Okay.
My name's Erik Robinson. It's Erik. You can look me up on Academy's website, or it's just eric.robinson@academy.cc.
Okay. And I'll put your name, I'll put your number and your email address on the top of the Hangout when it gets displayed on the site. So,
Okay.
but that's pretty cool. I'm pretty encouraged by this. Because I did watch the other video. I don't know if you saw the video from the guys from what's it called, the National Real Estate Post.
I
But
didn't.
and then my reaction was the same as theirs. I mean, the way they said it, I'm like, oh, great. So, but it is what it is. Well, anyway, I guess that's it.
Okay.
For those listening, next week I'm going to have a great. I posed a great question in a Facebook user group. And because even people said that's a great question, people always, and you rarely do you hear people say that in Facebook user groups, that's a great question. And I heard it from several sources, and then I posed it to a tax guy. The question was, if you sell your house, you own a home, it's a primary residence, you've owned it 10 years, you've lived there, and you sold it for $250,000. So I picked that number so we didn't have to worry about whether it's a couple or a single person. So you sell the house for $250,000. You've owned it for 10 years, owner occupied. You sell it seller financing, and then 4 years later it forecloses. You foreclose on the buyer. What does that do? Capital gains. How's that treated? So it's because it's no longer your primary residence. You don't live there. So you haven't lived there 3 out of the last 5 years because you foreclosed on the 4th year. So I have a tax expert that's going to come and answer that question next week. So anyway,
Cool.
so hey, Erik, I want to thank you for helping us out here and taking your time. I know you're a busy
Anytime.
guy. I'll let you go, and then in the meantime, boys and girls, have an awesome day. See you at the trough. See
I
ya.
appreciate it. Thanks, Rob.
Bye.
Bye.